Hard to believe, but we're at the end of week 2, moving into week 3 now. Most importantly, I hope you've been studying for your first exam. The first exam will cover the first 6 chapters in the book, and you'll need to take the exam sometime on Wednesday, July 16th. You have 90 minutes to complete the exam. While you're able to access your book and class materials as resources, I ask you not to talk to anybody else. This is an exam after all. And so don't talk to your classmates or friends or parents or whatnot. Make sure you're doing your own work. The exam is located in Blackboard. You'll see an exams folder. You should see the exams folder anytime right now, but the exam itself likely won't appear until 12:01 a.m. On Wednesday morning. So if you go and you don't see it quite yet, don't be afraid. It's set to appear at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday. Make sure you take the exam anytime on Wednesday, or you'll receive a 10-point grade deduction, and you'll also have to talk to me because you can't take the time is expired. Some quick overviews from the material for this week. We read chapter 4, talking about Netflix, looking at a couple different stories. One, looking at how Netflix overthrew Blockbuster. One of the issues and aspects of the chapter that I think is important is the idea of online retailers competing against what we call brick and mortar or regular physical stores. In the case of Netflix, their DVD by mail business was able to draw from an inventory of hundreds of thousands of different titles, where an individual Blockbuster location could typically stock only, say, 3,000 titles. And if you look at a kiosk model like a Redbox, for example, they might only be able to stock 30 titles. So when you look at online retailers, whether it's Netflix, or you can look at Amazon.com or an online like Zappos, foot retailer, and Zappos can have far greater selection of inventory than a local physical store would be. And so that's an important aspect of competition. In chapter 5, hopefully you learned a little bit about what's inside your computer. But an important point to note is that all the components, the hard drive and the RAM and all those sorts of things, they all have to work together. You also have to realize that the components are made by different people. And if you think about that for a few minutes, it raises the interesting challenge of how is it that all the components inside your computer work together? How is it that you might be able to replace the battery from your laptop with a battery made by another manufacturer, or a hard drive that's made by another manufacturer? And the answer to that is standards. Standards, or commonly agreed upon rules, are really important in technology, because the smartphone or your laptop or your desktop have lots of different parts, and they all have to work together. And they only work together because we all follow the same rules. Similarly, there are standards for things like HTML, so the web pages that we view. You take it for granted that you can see a web page on your smartphone or on your Mac or on your PC. And that happens because everybody's agreed upon the same set of rules, the HTML standards. You don't think about it or see it from a business perspective, but a lot of business transactions that happen over the internet also leverage standards. We mentioned briefly in our first class Walmart being able to communicate with 100,000 different suppliers. Walmart's only able to do that because all of the suppliers have agreed to use the same rules for sending and receiving data. And these rules are things called standards. So that's really important part of the technology discussion. Finally, we looked at databases. I hope you realize that databases are everywhere. If For example, you go to the Best Buy website and you start scrolling through inventory. You're really looking at database queries. You're asking Best Buy, what products do they have that are TVs? If you poke around that Best Buy website, you might also see that they have a really neat feature that allows you to check inventory at local stores. So if I see a widescreen TV, I can check to see whether it's in stock at the King of Prussia Best Buy store. And that's happening both because the web page is able to check the database of the King of Prussia Best Buy. And it's also able to happen because of standards that allow all of these databases to talk to the website on my browser, regardless of what kind of computer I have. So when we think about companies using data to make competitive advantages, to make better business decisions, one of the challenges is to take all this data. Sometimes you hear the phrase big data referring to companies leveraging multiple huge databases to try to understand more about customers. We can only do that if we're able to manage that data, get the right information to the right people, and it's only then that we can use that data for competitive advantage. This week you worked on your business process graphic and your CEO letter, and these are intended to help you apply the ideas that we're talking about in class to your company. On the exam tomorrow, I'm going to also ask you to apply the models that we've been studying, like the value chain and 5 forces and the Harvard model, to your company. So when you're doing the exam tomorrow, don't at all be surprised if I ask you to talk about how these models relate to the company that you're studying. So as you're preparing for the exam, please think about that. Also know that applying these models and frameworks is, I think, really important, not just for this class, but I think for the rest of your business career. Being able to go into a business that you're not familiar with and fairly quickly identify and understand how that business operates, what the real goals and objectives are, is something that is a useful skill in lots of different careers, and something that I think and hope that you'll learn in this class. Good luck with the exam tomorrow, and as always, if you have any questions or problems, please email me. I'm pretty good at responding to emails, so good luck.